Welcome to the fifth episode of WIDM 2016 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as always is the Canadian who has spent the last 5 weeks teaching 6-year-olds how to spell the word armory and witch hunt, Logan Saunders.
Good afternoon.
And the guy who genuinely thought Absolute Dick was a new vodka for Pride Month, David Bindley.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. My favourite thing is Logan has no idea what those two intros are referring to.
No, I knew what the comma one, or well, rather, Bindles' response was, I should say.
Yeah, you had no idea what mine were about, though, which is more important. We are recording this after, what, a 5-6 week break, I think it is?
Something like that.
It was since before I left.
Call it our mid-season break. Because, yeah, we didn't do one België finale week, because Bindles ran off to the airport right after that. So it must be at least 5 or 6 weeks now. It's already June. And this past weekend, as of the recording, was the game show marathon on Twitch, which raises money for a children's charity in America, and they do parodies of game shows, one of which was Guy Montgomery's Guy Mont Spelling Bee. And
So good.
those are both references to things from that. I will say, along with our Jeopardy parody for episode 500, it proves how hard it is to actually run a game show tech-wise on your own.
It's not easy.
It is not, you are correct. Anyway, the important questions, because we are going to do some preamble for once in a historian season. Firstly, where in the world was Logan Saunders?
A lot of countries? 13?
So where were you when we last spoke for the reunion? Was it you were in San Giorgio Marchetto, I think, at that point, weren't you?
Did we record while in San Giorgio?
I think so, yeah, because you said it had really good Wi-Fi, so we could do it there. So I think you were in Italy when we last spoke.
Okay, so after that, I went up to Rimini, which is on the Adriatic side of Italy and is a half an hour bus ride from the country of San Marino. San Marino is a country that's only 60 square kilometers.
So Amazing Race Canada will be doing 4 legs there next season.
If they relocate the country to within 10 kilometers of Pearson International, then yes.
San Marino, Ontario.
San Marino, Ontario. San Marino, Ontario. That's awesome. Yeah, I went there for a few hours. Then I went up to Venice, your beloved city, Michael.
Yeah.
Then I went to, and it was funny because it was the most over touristy place I'd been to in quite some time. I saw people playing the shell game scam, which I hadn't seen in a few years.
Yeah, I must admit, when you said you were going to Venice, I didn't think it would be very much your place.
It was really nice. It was just a lot of people who don't normally travel I encountered in Venice.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to Venice twice, I think it is, and the first time we went for a big birthday of my mum's, and we nearly missed the plane when we were transferring in Schiphol, which is why the other 3 members of my immediate family have a real hatred of Schiphol when they're wrong. But the main scam that we saw there was offering day trips to the island of Marino, where they do all the glass blowing. However, they didn't tell you you'd have to pay to get back.
Yeah, because you have to do €9 there, €9 back. Yeah.
Yeah, it was free on the way there. It was not free on the way back. We did not fall for it.
Yeah. It was so funny, though, because it was clearly people who had never been to Europe before, which is fine. If Venice is the first destination, it's a very, very beautiful place. It was just funny for them to like go into the supermarket and not realize you have to weigh the fruit yourself and get the price before you take it to the counter. So there's a lot of abandoned fruit at checkout. And then a lot of people were like, what? There's somebody here from the United States? Or what? There's another person here in Venice that's from Canada? I'm thinking, yes, there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of tourists here almost every day. Yes, you will encounter tourists from America or Canada while you're here.
Yes, you will. Where was it after Venice?
Slovenia, where it rained and rained and rained. I went to Ljubljana, went to Dragon Bridge, and went up to Lake Bled. 1991, year of independence, as Mason Race 35 said.
And you didn't even bump into any of the Belgian Mole Argentina cast.
Yeah, they were there like 3 days after I was. That would have been a hell of a coincidence to just see Van Boel walking around with the whole Argentina cast.
He would have had to enact his restraining order with you.
Or Kathy, yeah. Both of them would be like, how did you know we were here, Logan?
I didn't see any pictures of Kathy, to be fair. I obviously saw a lot of pictures of Van Boel. I didn't see any of Kathy on his social media. So I'm not sure if she was there.
But yeah, I was messaging him like, why I was just there 2 or 3 days ago. And then he said, yep, I'm here with the whole Argentina cast, Mark included. So that near coincidence just blew my mind. Then I went up to Finland, where I was in Helsinki just for the one day, but it was the one day where it was their graduation day. So it was just thousands and thousands of people out everywhere for the entire day. Like I stayed out till 2 a.m. There were still thousands of people out and about in the streets, which apparently is very unusual for Helsinki. It's known for being a pretty quiet city overall. And there was an outdoor screening of the Barbie movie at one of the outdoor restaurants, which made me laugh. Then I went into Estonia. Estonia was really pretty. It was much more medieval architecture compared to Soviet architecture. Walking by the Russian embassy there was very interesting.
Imagine.
And then I went into Latvia, then Lithuania, then flew to Barcelona to catch the bus up to Andorra, and then I came back home.
And you didn't even bump into Brooke either.
No, I was messaging back and forth with her because she was in Barcelona the day before I got there. I missed her by a day.
That's a shame.
Yeah, because then she drove south from Barcelona. Like the day I arrived is when she drove south.
Are there any countries in Europe you haven't done yet?
I'm missing 6 countries.
Oh,
Only 6.
wow.
3 of them are pretty easy to guess, I would say.
Ukraine.
Yep.
Because you famously missed out on the opportunity.
Yep. I'm still pissed off about that to this day.
Moldova and Russia?
So Russia, Belarus, Moldova. I tried to get to Moldova on this trip, but I just logistically, it's a tougher country to get into in terms of flights, or you'd have to take a bus or train in from Romania to get into Moldova. And then I am missing Norway and Iceland.
Ooh.
And that's it for all of Europe.
Wow.
Norway, very expensive.
Yeah.
Iceland, very expensive. I was just talking about, there was a guy on the flight with me back to Kelowna who had been to Iceland. Because I looked it up, and the bus to get from just the airport to the city center is like $40 Canadian just for that bus ride.
Yep.
So I said, no thanks, I will do that another year.
Yeah.
There is basically no public transport in Iceland. So you're going to have a hilarious time.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be a 24-hour layover type of place.
Yeah. And for the first time in a long while, where in the world was David Bindley?
Oh, I like this new segment.
So I went back to Sydney and sort of did some of the things I missed last time because it was on the way. And then I went up to Brisbane, which it was nice to go. I don't know that I need to go back. I don't know why they've got the Olympics. I don't know why a lot of things about Brisbane, but I went up basically from Melbourne to Sydney to Brisbane by train, which is about 25 hours or something in total. Well, it was supposed to be 25 hours. It ended up being about 29 because the trains were delayed that badly. I did all the theme parks on the Gold Coast, and some of them were significantly more fun than others. And now I'm back home, just pretending to care about work at the moment.
I genuinely did look up whether you could get that Papa Bear t-shirt online because I was going to try and wear it to the finale next year.
Yeah. For those who didn't see, I went to SeaWorld, and I was looking in the gift shop, and I found a polar bear shirt that basically said Papa Bear. And I would have bought it, but they didn't have it in my size.
Yeah.
So I had to settle for a magnet or something instead. But I, of all people, should know better than to go into a gift shop.
Yes, you should.
But when I was in Brisbane, I booked a hotel that was basically in the tallest building in Brisbane. And I booked sort of a cheap room, which I knew was going to be close to the ground, which better for me because I looked at the building and I'm like, no, I don't want to be super high. Like I would, love to be able to say I stayed in the tallest building in town. I don't want to actually stay at the top of the tallest building in town, if that makes sense. Because it was one of those buildings that sort of doesn't have balconies or anything. It's basically just a glass window straight down. So I go there to check in, and they're like, "Oh, we've given you a free upgrade. Your room is on the 53rd floor." And I sort of went up, put my bag down, had a look, and then I'm like, I can't even get close to the window without having a panic attack. So I went back down. It's like, no, you need to upgrade me. Like, give me the room I actually paid for. Yeah.
Downgrade. Really downgrade.
Yes. And they couldn't give me the one sort of right near the bottom, the ones that I actually wanted. So they had to settle for like 17th floor, which fine, still a little bit high with the because of the way the specific window was facing. It still wasn't completely comfortable, but it was much better than being 200 meters in the air with a drop straight down. But I got into the room, it was like I got the feeling the building is not safe. Like on top of the bed, it had like a sprinkler in the ceiling, which is fine, except it had been held on with gap filler. So I'm assuming it had gone off at some point, and they basically just tried to plaster it back into position. But in summary, Wet and Wild good, SeaWorld okay, Movie World don't bother.
And while you're in Brisbane, did you hold a koala bear?
I did not. I looked at the prices to the koala sanctuary, and it was like $150, and I'm like,
I'm happier with the dollar.
Yes, exactly.
With your height, there also would have been a risk of the koala bear being the one to hold you.
Yeah. There's not actually a lot to do in Brisbane itself. It's like not really a touristy place.
Were there people rock climbing?
I think they've got rock climbing on the cliffs, sort of roughly where the pit stop from Amazing Race Asia 4 was. That's basically, a set of cliffs, and that they have an adventure place there that does rock climbing and abseiling and all that sort of shit. I did not do that. But I did go to a night market that I found. That was basically, you pay $4 or $5 to get in, and then there's like probably about 150 shipping containers with like different, basically food trucks in them. And I may have spent a little bit too much money on food that night.
How much are we talking, dare we ask?
So we're talking basically lobster, Hungarian, paella, Filipino, Dutch pancakes, and dessert.
Oh, wow.
And a drink.
Lobster, all that. Oh,
yeah,
close to $100.
Basically, yeah.
Must be very nice.
Wasn't too bad. I don't know that I need the lobster again, though, because it was very... What if a prawn had no flavour?
When you do your world tour, make sure to head to Toronto and the CN Tower. You'll love it.
Okay.
And sit on the glass floor as well.
Yeah, no. We've got one of them here, and I have no intention of going up there.
The CN Tower is the world's highest glass floor.
Yeah.
I lay down across it.
Yeah, I'm not too bad with heights. Generally, it's more fear of falling for me than heights themselves. I could not go on the glass floor for more than about 10 seconds because it sent my tummy a bit funny.
Because my logic is, if the glass breaks through, I know I'm going to be dead instantly and won't feel a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one was when we stayed in Hong Kong. Ironically, the one place on the Amazing Race 37 list that Logan hasn't been to. I think we got an upgrade in our hotel, and obviously every hotel in Hong Kong is a skyscraper. That was very high up.
Yeah.
I took a picture for my dad because he hates heights. And I got some very, very non-polite words, I have to say, off him.
Yeah.
I was very insulted.
I'm a bit like you. Like, I can handle heights. It's just the falling that's an issue. Because, like, in Sydney, I climbed up the Harbour Bridge. Well, I climbed up one of the pylons, and that was fine because it was all, inside service ladders, all that sort of stuff. But, like, walking across the bridge, even though that was a lot lower, the walkway, that was more terrifying. And then sort of between the hotel upgrade and then the roller coasters and the water slides and all that sort of stuff, I was maybe not in the best sort of mindset to go across the bridge in Brisbane that afternoon.
Yeah. I do still want to get Logan to go to a theme park with me as well.
Ah!
Purely for the content.
Ah!
I did Movie World, which is basically, what if Disneyland, but sort of not Disney? It was like Warner Brothers. And, like, it was fine. And I spent probably more in the gift shop there than I did in the other two. But, like, none of the rides were open because it was the middle of winter and they were basically doing all the refurbishments all at once. And, like, I knew sort of some of it would be closed because they're building a new section and upgrading a couple of rides and all that sort of stuff. But then you get there and it was basically 2 roller coasters that were open and then, like, all the, like, little baby kid rides. And I looked at the adult roller coasters and one of them I'm like, no, not today.
Hell no.
Yeah, like it was one of those ones that sort of goes basically 60 meters straight up and then almost a vertical drop. And I'm like, no, I'd rather keep my bowels.
I'm happier with the bells.
Exactly. So I did the smaller roller coaster a couple of times. And then I'm like, I need to get my money's worth out of the thing. Like, I got a ticket that will let you do like unlimited entry to the 3 parks, but it still worked out to about 50, $60 each. And I'm like, I'm gonna need to get my money's worth out of this. So I went on the stupid little kid roller coasters a few times, and I got very annoyed because they wouldn't let me crash the Dodgem cars.
Wasn't there a risk that you would have fallen foul of the "you must be this tall to ride" signs? Is that why you went for the kids ones, really? Bindles and I were discussing last week when we were talking about roller coasters, which roller coasters in Florida I want to see you on, Saunders.
Yeah.
Because there's some truly delightful ones that you would be going on and I would not. You would obviously have a camera strapped to you for the hilarity for me. Basically, I want to see you go to Universal on Hulk, preferably. And you could look that up after the podcast.
My stomach's already churning already.
It's a nice, sedate roller coaster, doesn't go upside down at all. And if you believe that...
No, I do not. I assume it's nothing but being upside down.
Yeah, it's... I mean, there are very few roller coasters I will not go on. Anything that goes upside down, I do not go on, as a general rule.
Even I went on a roller coaster that went upside down.
Yeah, unless I get tricked. It's ones where I don't feel safe. I don't think we've ever discussed this, but I went to one of the UK's biggest theme parks, Blackpool Pleasure Beach, with my friends in 2009, I think it was. And as long as I feel safe, I'm absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And we went on one of the oldest roller coasters in the world, the Big Dipper. It's a wooden roller coaster. It sounds very wooden. I basically spent the entire 2-3 minutes going, I do not feel safe on this. Your arseholes were making me do this. And then 2 weeks later, I saw a news article to say that it had crashed. And I'm like, fucking told you. Final Destination shit. We better not all die because of you lot now.
So where in the world was Michael Harmstone?
Well, yeah, I mean, mine's a bit more tame because I've just got back from going to Birmingham with work for 2 days. Oof, exotic. 3 years on the trot. This time, though, I put my foot down and said I'm driving, so I did 230 miles of driving in the past 2 days, and was slightly tired when I got back yesterday. And obviously, I've slightly changed jobs in the past few months, so we have a new big manager.
Do you have a small manager too?
Well, he's a similar height to me, but
The small manager is a similar height to me.
yeah. There's 2.5 months that we've been in his team, and he has not spoken to any of us once. He's odd. He didn't make any eye contact with us, and he's been in the same room as us for 2 days.
I mean, genuinely, I got a new manager last May. I think she's spoken to me once.
I don't even know who my manager is.
Yeah, you work for a shady corporation somewhere in the world, though.
That shall remain unnamed.
The big news, obviously, as of the time of recording, is obviously that we now have a date for Netmall 2. This is your own damn fault that this is happening. Obviously, we're not covering it. Why would we? We've got better things to do with our lives, like put rusty needles in our eyes. Same day as WIDM Oman, which at least looks a lot better.
That should be good.
It did make me laugh that they accidentally, in doing their usual thing on Netball of copying everything from België, did copy a clue, so we know that the mole is already male, despite the fact that the cast hadn't been announced at that point, I think. But in Brighton news, I want to bring back a segment that we did at the start of the year and then it kind of fell off for fairly obvious reasons. And this will really annoy Fuzzy because we're going to do a bit of Traitors talk.
Yay!
Because I've been watching Traitors Quebec.
Oh,
Holy shit. Holy shit. They're insane. They're bonkers. You know how we love Quebecois people on Canadian shows, and it's basically the only reason we did Amazing Race for so long.
yep.
Pierre and the Michels, Alain Andre, Dave Leduc.
Imagine every one of those people, but even more crazy.
Oh,
Because
wonderful.
there are a few people on that cast who are legitimately psychopaths. There's something that one of the traitors does in about episode 3 or 4 that genuinely, if it was an English language show, he would get death threats for this. He would absolutely have Big Brother fans calling up his place of work and get him fired.
Yeah, so they have. It's interesting because instead of faithful and traitors, I believe it's just traitors and separatists. I believe
It is, yes. Karine is also amazing, even better than she is in the English language one, because she takes a leaf out of Peter Yan's book and is utterly contemptuous to these people.
Oh, excellent.
Her sign off at the end of the round tables is, "See you in the morning." Maybe. And everything just sounds better when you're doing like etra tretra and stuff like that. It just sounds better. But yeah, I think the episodes are slightly longer. They are the same
production company.
Same production company, same challenges and everything as the Canadian one, with maybe a couple of exceptions, because as of the time of recording, only the first 7 episodes of 10 have been subtitled. 10 have now aired, but only the first 7 have got any form of subtitles. There is at least one twist that Quebec does that the English language one hasn't done, I think.
Interesting.
From the cliffhanger of episode 7 that I've seen.
I believe the Quebec version of Survivor was pretty decent too.
Yeah, that's had 2 seasons. English Language Canada and Quebec have both been recommissioned and are filming very soon, if not now.
Oh, excellent.
Because Karine did the announcement last week, I think it was. Definitely seek out the Quebecois traitors because it's amazing. There's one person in it who I think you will wildly veer between loving and hating, even in the same scenes.
Ooh.
They've never ever cast anyone like her on any show that I've seen. And you will know who I mean as soon as you watch the premiere, I think. I've still not caught up on the US one. I don't really care about it at this point. The US 3 cast has come out, and yeah, meh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. But they used up all of the good people the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's not a surprise to see Boston Rob do it.
No.
Mainly because Sandra was on it last time and probably told him he'd get a healthy payday out of it. But, I mean, Alan Cumming just isn't a good Traitors host at this point. Sorry, Americans. And the final tangentially reality TV related thing that I wanted to mention is, did you hear the sad news about Amazing Race 31 contestant Joey Chestnut?
He's not allowed to eat hot dogs.
Yeah.
He has been banned from the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest on July 4th because he has just signed a brand ambassador deal with Impossible Burger, the vegan meat people.
Oh.
Such a weird reason to ban him. Like, it's not because he punched somebody in the face or kidnapped the president's daughter. It was just, he's eating vegan substitutes.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad he's worried about his caloric intake.
He's eating a rival product. He's not allowed to wear Impossible branding gear or anything. I think that was the problem. And negotiations broke down.
Oh, well, so he had the option to just not wear the competing company's gear and he would have been allowed to eat. Then why doesn't he just do that?
Because it'll lose him money if he doesn't.
But then just get a different sponsor.
Yeah, I agree. I'm playing devil's advocate.
I thought it was just they were just based on ethical reasons they banned him.
No, it's purely because he's a brand ambassador for a rival brand of hot dogs now.
That'd be like if there was like a Pepsi drinking contest and the guy got sponsored by Coca-Cola and said, I'm not going to participate because they won't let me wear my Coca-Cola shirts.
Well, after they had a partner swap twist and now they've got Joey Fitness instead.
Anything else you guys want to mention before we rattle through this Historians episode that we're probably not going to have much to talk about, hence the preamble?
Maybe Joey Fitness is sponsored by Ab Possible Foods.
Has anyone heard from Joey Fitness and Daddy since?
Somebody just brought him up today on one of the on the Tar Hub Discord, I think. And I was thinking, whoa, no, on Reddit. Somebody brought up, they were talking about Tar 20 and said, yeah, something about Joey Fitness. And then I just stopped reading as soon as Joey Fitness's name was dropped. Because all I could do was just chuckle to myself about when I would switch out the quotation marks in his name. Joey Fitness and Danny. Or Joey Fitness and Danny?
So dumb.
Yeah, it was. And I always switched it to a different place every episode.
One final actual thing that I do want to mention is my love of Race Across the World was mentioned in België. Yet again, my least favourite option did end up winning. It's definitely a good series again, though. It's kind of hilarious that one pair did end up with, I think it was £1.64 at the end.
Oh, wow.
Officially, they had a budget of 0.05% left.
Impressive.
Wow.
And we have no idea how they managed it.
I guess they can, with the rest of their budget, they can buy Joey Chestnut a hot dog or something.
They can't even buy tickets back off the island.
No, they really can't. But they did the usual fun thing of, oh yeah, your final location is Lombok. Psych, you're going to one of the Gili Islands tomorrow morning. We're not going to tell you which one yet.
It's either Gili A, Gili B, Gili C, or Gili D.
So, previously, the final 8 headed to the coast after having lost most of their pots. Cecile became the treasurer before they kayacked for cash and did a path of temptation in a quarry. After a heroic climb, it was Ellie who left the group with a big cash bump, as she was the third one sent home.
Whoop whoop, that's the sound of Ellie lost.
How long have you been waiting to do that one?
How long's it been? About 5-6 weeks?
Yeah.
Or whoop whoop, that's the sound of defeat. Bindles was better.
Yeah, Bindles was better, you're right. That's the one that'll actually stay in the edit.
Yeah.
And Art says to us, it seems like one big happy family this year, but the openness has been exchanged for mystery. Every goodbye gets harder, even though Marjolein was shocked that Ellie left last week. Her main suspect is gone, or is she living up to her day job and just acting as the mole? Spoilers for the end of the episode. She just lost her main suspect.
Yeah.
And the episode title is 3 Already Gone, 7 Left.
That's a terrible episode title.
It is, and it's one of the few where I think, yeah, there's no way that this actually refers to the mole.
Yeah. The titles are not great this season.
There's somewhere I can see what the connection is with the mole for the reunion reveal, but this one I really can't if it is one.
Can I just say it's way too early for them to be doing confessionals of, oh my god, the group is getting smaller. There's only 7 of us left. It's like there were more people and now there are less people.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, you know the reason why they're doing it? It's because there's bugger all else in this episode.
Yeah. Like, they get to the execution, and there's still 7 minutes left in the episode.
Bindle sent me a message yesterday or the day before just going, yeah, this is going to be one of those episodes where we rattle through it, and then the rest of the season's really good. And I watched it earlier, and I'm just going, Jesus, that was an understatement.
And then Anna Mika has the confessional of, we have 7 people left, and it's already episode 5, which means we're doing something right.
Yeah.
As if the goal of the game is to have as many people left in the final episode as possible. It's like, no, that is not the mole.
Yeah. I did enjoy Art at the end of the episode being like, yes, you've made it halfway, but you've only lost like 2 people, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, it's not an achievement yet.
There's no achievement star unlocked.
Yeah.
And then they have the whole thing with Cecile saying, oh, all 4 women left are all mothers. 4 mothers to 3 men. Maybe we're the strongest. Right after Ellie freaking Loost of the police department was just executed.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to get to that in a minute. So it's day 9. Taka says he always sleeps well, perhaps because Roth is close. Anamika says the mole's getting closer as people go home, but there are still 7 people left in episode 5, so they must be doing something right. Cecile has already ironed her clothing this morning, which is going to end very well when she has to do a bike ride. And she realizes that all 3 women who are left are mothers, and therefore there must be a correlation because mothers are strong. What was your comment when you sent me this, Bindles?
I was like, Cecile says all 3 women left her mothers, and that makes them the strongest women in the entire group. Yeah, suck a dick, lesbian.
Yes. I get what Cecile was getting at, I think.
Yeah.
She was meaning it as a compliment, but it did read as, yeah, suck a dick lesbian and suck a dick Airen.
Which is ironic given that Cecile was just ironing her own clothes.
It's ironic.
Marjolein says she's going to keep doing what she's doing because apparently it works. She says, having just lost her main suspect. She says she remembered everything and wrote everything down, but she's just trying to live in the moment while she's in this show. And I'll be honest, if you asked me to list the people in this cast, I would have forgotten Marjolein.
I forgot Marjolein in this episode.
She's the typical mid-season boot who nobody remembers.
Yeah. Like, I was making notes of, who was in which group in the boat challenge. And I was like, who the fuck is the 7th person? And then I realized, oh, it's Marjolein.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
So they head to Rincon Beach for the first assignment, and Rop narrates.
Over the Doctor Who soundtrack for some reason.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you know where the soundtrack was from? It was I Am the Doctor from the Series 5 Doctor Who soundtrack. I heard it play and I'm like, that sounds really familiar, so I ended up asking my phone what it was.
Yeah. This episode is bigger on the inside, but maybe that's just because of all the padding.
And also the vegan hot dogs provided by our friends over at Impossible.
Delicious.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. We have no morals. We will shill for whoever wants us to. Just give us the money.
Yeah, Logan will put the vegan hot dogs in his mouth and I'll just have all the meat.
Well, that's the tagline. And then Cecile comments that we're on an island, yet Art has another perfectly ironed outfit.
Yep. And I did also note, even though they take place on the same day, he does change his shirt between the first and second challenge.
Huh.
Art wears 3 different shirts in all 3 challenges, even though 2 of them take place on the same day.
If it was Amazing Race, that would be the final memory test at the end of the season.
And he tells them they're going to do a difficult quiz, and if they play it right, they can bike to the answers. In exactly 10 minutes, he will ask the first question from the other side of the bay, and another question will be asked each minute afterwards. The fastest person can go first, but everyone else has to wait 5 minutes. And they obviously send professional sportsman and short king Tarka to be the sprinter. He suggests they send the fastest person to the first answer, and then they have the weakest person pedaling the shortest distance. And he struggles with his pedaling because of the loose sand officially, but also because he can't reach the pedals. And he's meant to tell them when he sees envelopes, but he doesn't do anything. When he communicates, he almost falls in the sand.
I'm not sure if sending him ahead was the right strategy.
Who would you have sent?
I think you sort of send someone who can make it to the end just in time, but maybe not someone who would have the power to go backwards and forwards if needed. I think you sort of send somebody like Marjolein or Rob.
I mean, for our entertainment, it would have been funnier if it was Cecile.
Yeah.
And all 12 envelopes have been missed.
Thank fuck for Cecile during this challenge, otherwise this would have been even more boring.
She knows how funny she is, I think, in these confessionals.
Yeah. Oh, she lists her biggest fears as driving on freeways, hanging from a rock, and travelling fast through sand. So this is just the perfect show for her.
Yeah.
And yet one of her 3 greatest things to do in life is to hang from the rock.
It's better than hanging from the rock, as I think you did suggest in an early episode of this season. She does say, though, that she's a good cyclist and has great calves.
I wish there was like hashtag cycling Miss Daisy appear across the screen.
My first thought when I remembered this was the cycling challenge is Saunders would have been fucked with this one.
I would have had to run, and I probably would have outran Cecile on a bike.
It would have been so funny to watch you trying to pedal a bike on sand. And talking of falling in the sand, Marjolein's walkie-talkie falls in the sand, and we see it in slow motion from 2 different angles because he got no better to air on this episode. Tarka gets to the finish with over 4 minutes left on the clock, but no envelopes having been sighted.
Yeah, it was the most meatheady strategy possible, where it's just, I got to get to the finish line. and just doesn't even look for the envelopes. Doesn't help out his team at all. It's just, yeah.
I'm gonna pedal to the end. Taka Takama. I was looking up Taka earlier, and I found out that he did a TV show after this one, 2018, I think it was, where he got punched in the head repeatedly.
Hmm.
It tracks. Because he
Yeah.
did a celebrity boxing show where he was in the heavyweight category, got to the semi-finals of it, and one of the hosts of that program was someone by the name of Alche Gulson.
Oh.
They fought in a boxing match?
Well,
Yeah.
no, they didn't fight in a boxing match. She just hosted the television program. But
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But at least you look good doing it.
oh, definitely.
Did she have good calves? That's the important part.
Despite all of my jokes about Taka, he genuinely did get punched in the head on a television program repeatedly in 2018. And, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. I have a question. When they eventually start finding the envelopes, why don't they use the walkie-talkie to relay those answers to Tucker straight away, instead of, waiting for the question to be asked and then having a person stand there?
And just panic, like, oh god, we only have 5 seconds to walkie-talkie in the answer. Maybe they knew that Taka wasn't going to remember the answer if they told him more than 10 seconds prior.
Yeah, but then, why not send somebody else?
I wonder if it was an off-screen rule that they could only open the envelope when the question had been asked.
Maybe.
Playa las what? Playa las fleches. Playa what? Playa mas what wetches?
Because otherwise you could just get Taka to pedal slowly, but just grab all the envelopes himself and just open them in front of Art, make the challenge pointless. One bigger issue is the fact that they found envelope number 7 and didn't think, maybe these are in numerical order. Let's go back and try and find some.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah.
What is the local Dominican snack?
No one knows. It's an answer that has been lost to the ether.
I'm gonna have to message some people.
Yeah.
Message the WIDM cast after we're done, historians. What's the local Dominican snack? Tell me, Art. Tell me.
So Marjolein gets a walkie-talkie back in time to go to tree number 5, but not the 5th envelope. And Klaus is the first to be in a position to answer a question with envelope number 7, who the Dominicans consider to be the Robin Hood of the Caribbean.
Roberto Carfrezi. Roberto Carfrezi. Tommy Versetti.
Question 8 is what the locals mean by Platano, which is that you look like a local. And Tim also answers question number 9 just in time, but the walkie-talkie keeps cutting out when he's trying to answer the beach name to Taka.
Ooh, is the mole pressing the buttons?
Ooh, I wonder. I can't remember, but I think it's probably likely because it happens every time there's a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
And they also missed the envelopes for numbers 10 to 12, which is baffling. And that then confirms all 3 that they answered were correct for a total of 600 of 2,400 for the challenge.
I think they were afraid of collecting envelope 10 because envelope 7, 8, 9.
Right, you're in timeout, Saunders.
And then Art just grills the contestants at the end of the challenge.
Art roasts them. He doesn't grill them. He roasts them.
You can bike, but answering questions, how hard can it be?
He's definitely channeling Pete Yan here, or he's just showing open levels of contempt.
And production was very generous as they still got 600 out of 2,400 euros for the challenge. It wasn't an all or nothing deal or gets 8 out of 12. It was, you only got 3 out of 12? Yeah, we'll still give you 600 euros for that. That would not happen today.
The irony here is that 2,400 is actually one of the higher maximum amounts that they offer this season.
Yeah.
It's
this
super
is a very
cheap.
cheap season.
Yeah. I was looking through the challenge guide earlier and just going, geez, they genuinely have challenges for 1,000 euros that aren't all or nothing?
Yeah.
Because we've got a few of them coming.
Mm-hmm.
And Rop then admits to Anamika that she was his Molder past 2 test despite their bond. She's very fanatical and playing the game, and he needs an ally again. And she says she's happy because she doesn't suspect him much, and he suggests that they share a room again.
Can I just say, I know they're in the Dominican Republic, but I think Rob's hairline is in Haiti.
And they head to Los Hiatus for the second challenge. And as I said, Art has changed his shirt despite it being the same day. And he says that before Columbus, this island was inhabited by the Taino people. the friendly people. The arrival of Europeans meant diseases and persecution and the end of their culture. And all they have to do is follow 9 symbols to the money, and they must use a boat to spot the symbols, and by finding the right one, they will form a map of the area to pinpoint the money. However, if they take more than 9 symbols, it will cost them €200 per incorrect symbol they take. So they split into 3 boats, which is Taka and Tim, Cecile and Klaas, and Annemieke, Rob and Marjolein, and they have an hour to find the loot.
One of the longer time limits for WIDM.
Yeah.
Mainly because it took feckin' forever for anyone to find a boy.
Yeah. Like, this is one of those challenges. I think all 3 challenges in this episode are a bit like this, where it feels like it'd be more interesting to do than it is to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely see why they went here, can definitely see why they did this challenge. It's just not very interesting television.
Yeah. Like, these are probably, like, in a België episode, like, this season, they basically had, every episode was basically 2 big challenges, and then, like, a little tiny challenge, like the Omerta thing, or something small like that. I think this is 3 of those small challenges.
This is basically ticking off loads of the landmarks that they can do in the Dominican Republic, because they actually still cared about ticking off landmarks at this point.
Yeah. At least with this challenge, they at least try and tie it into the local culture, which they don't do that often anymore.
Yeah, I think I wrote down my notes. Just not the most interesting challenges to watch, but I can't really mock them for these challenges either, because they do fit in with WIDM overall. But just as a TV viewing experience, it kind of sucks.
Yeah. They're fine challenges, they just don't belong in an episode together.
It's not just everybody sitting in a chair like the Mexico season.
Although the cycling challenge.
Yeah, I mean, most of them weren't sitting in the saddle for very long on the cycling challenge, I think. So they all get distracted by the scenery, and Annemieke, Marjolein, and Rob ignore the walkie-talkie. Cecile and Klaas then find the first boys, and they look orange and round, is what Cecile says.
Orange and round, orange and round, orange and round boys.
So have you seen Donald Trump in the water?
It's a little bit too early for Trump still. Trump was the end of this year.
At least they didn't try to memorize the symbols by rows again.
That is very true.
I like how one of the symbols looked like Rob.
I like that they started off going, right, let's just try and memorize a symbol each. We'll make it work. And then I think it was Taka went, now that's dumb. We're all going to get split up into boats. We don't have any boats yet. Let's all try and memorize each symbol just in case.
Yeah. They're finally learning.
Yeah. So Cecile and Klaas find 3 good ones, and Tim and Taka get 1. And then Cecile and Klaas take a 4th, whilst Tim and Taka get 2 more. The team of 3 have the stand to put them all in. They're not confident about the one that looks like Rob, but they get the direction of Boca Tiburon to head towards with 5 minutes left.
Shark mouth.
Yep. They find a chest with a minute to open, and Klaas opens it to reveal €1,000.
Not just any €1,000 though. Ellie Loost.
Yeah.
And €1,000.
This is also the bonus question for Suspect List this week. How many symbols did the mole find? Was it 0, 3, or 5? So when they reunite, Art congratulates them and says it's all down to clear communication and teamwork finally, something that will be essential to the next day's challenge.
And Cecile is treasurer, and she had the €1,000 note and says she has Ellie Loost close to her heart. She certainly didn't at the start of this episode.
They finally buried the hatchet. And in their apartment, Cecile becomes even more of a delight as she takes it upon herself to iron the money and exchange the paper envelope for a real fake leather wallet.
She dried and ironed the money.
There has never been anyone cast on this show like Cecile Narix, for better or for worse.
I like how she says, I'll shower with it and I'll sleep with it. Nobody's touching this money. I'm thinking, that just skips ahead. Don't sleep with somebody who has money. Just sleep with the money and just forego the person, the second party being involved.
The Logan Saunders rule, as we call it.
I did like how sort of everyone's outside having a beer, and then Tim just basically comes over, dumps a whole pile of Taka's laundry on the table. It's like, here you go.
And then Klaas pulls out a pair of his pants.
Yeah.
If this was the Challenge USA, all of that laundry would have been stolen in about 10 seconds.
Oh, God, yeah.
If this was Amazing Race, it would have been thrown over the balcony.
If it was the Challenge USA, it would have got stolen off them, and then they would have had to do a sudoku to recover it.
Let's all memorize one square.
That's not coming back this year, is it? The Challenge USA.
I don't know. They've already done like 20 new seasons since in the past year, it feels like.
I don't think it is.
Hmm.
Because I know of the main challenge, the gearing up for the 40th season that'll probably have aired by the time this episode comes out in Vietnam, and the finale's in Singapore, I think. So maybe they're just focusing on that this year, because I don't think it rated terribly. I think it was more the horror stories that all the cast had that's put a stop to it.
It's just such a dumb show.
Yeah, of course it is. Taka would fit in on it. If they did a Dutch one, Taka would be all over it.
3-time winner, Taka.
Just be bumbling through it going, "Du, du, 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 du. Hello bananas, hello CT." For the avoidance of doubt, I love Taka, he's brilliant. He also is far more talented than I'll ever be. He's got a silver Olympic medal.
You didn't say that. Did you just say that? Like from Arrested Development?
I just genuinely love taking the piss out of how much of a meathead Taka is. I can't resist.
I can't believe you referenced Arrested Development right there.
If he did the Challenge Netherlands, they would have to give him a fruit name.
True.
He'd be Taka Bananas.
Taka bananas, Jesus. Anyway, on day 10, they head to Samana and a very long footbridge leading to an island. Art tells them it's nicknamed the Bridge to Nowhere, and at the start and end will be a paragraph, and they must switch those paragraphs. They can only communicate with the person before or after them in the chain, and they must pass the paragraphs over verbally. For each paragraph transported correctly, they will earn €1,000, and they've got 20 minutes to transport them.
We didn't really talk about what the past two challenges, but if you were the mole... Oh, I guess you guys can't. I have to do that one. Damn it.
This is why we don't talk about it. It's because me and Bindles know exactly what the mole did or didn't do in both of those challenges.
So it's all on me then. Okay.
Yeah. I will say, in the reunion, only one of the 3 challenges this episode is shown.
Yeah, I can probably guess which one, because I can remember what the mole did in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in the second one, I was thinking the mole clearly held back, considering they had a 100% success rate with retrieving the money. And I think the challenge overall was fairly easy to succeed with. If I was, as the mole, given that it was 3 groups and only 2 of the groups were even needed to succeed at the challenge, shows probably how little the mole would have been able to sabotage it. The first one, I think it was probably just intentionally missed some envelopes, confused people with going back and forth on the sand, clearly pressed the buttons on the walkie-talkie during the whole Playa Las Flechas fiasco. And yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
What I will say is, regardless of me knowing who the mole is in this season or not, this third challenge is impossible to win.
Yeah.
All it would take was the mole swapping. It was like that letter challenge, I think, in Hong Kong, Philippines. That would be really easy to interfere with. This reminded me of that.
If they got one word wrong, the paragraph was marked wrong. That's all the mole needed to do. The mole didn't need to do anything in this challenge.
I mean, you had Taka involved. Cecile had to teach Taka like 20 different gestures to tie in with each individual word that he had to relay.
As we said last episode, Taka struggles with words over 3 letters long.
Yeah.
And we have words that are 35 additional letters on top of that.
So Annemieka's on one of the extreme ends. Language is her cup of tea, and she likes to be in control. And we have Cecile on the other end, and she passes on to Taka, which will definitely end well. Annemieka then passes on her paragraph about the longest word in Dutch to Rob, while Taka passes on to Klaas, who passes on to Tim in the middle. Marjolein says she's confident, she memorises text every day, and her and Tim exchange their stories. And Cecile's story gets a bit more complicated, and I do have to say they are absolute sadists for making man who collects concussion like Super Bowl rings Taka Takuma take part in this challenge.
Yeah, given this was an all or nothing challenge, I can't even fault them for screwing up. Even 7 concussion-free people wouldn't have been able to succeed with this, I don't think. All it takes is one word, and the mole could just mess up one word, and boom, it's over.
Yeah. Maybe they should have given them €200 for every correct sentence.
Yeah, maybe.
That would have been reasonable.
They would have only got €200 anyway, but...
Yeah.
Anamika then introduces the second longest word for her path, a mere 35 letters that Tarka will have to still remember. And Class memorizes things differently to Tarka because Cecile gave him hand actions. Cecile then realizes she missed a word when speaking to Tarka, so he has to run back to pass it on.
Supercalifragilistic.
And the time runs out, and Art confirms they got one whole sentence right in the entire 2 paragraphs, so earn no euros of 2,000 euros for the challenge, 1,600 of 6,400 for the episode, and 5,910 of 27,310 for the season so far.
I can't decide what my favourite part of this challenge was. Marjolein hearing a sentence exactly once and then sprinting off. Or everyone's insistence on saying that, the English word for type machine, comma, typewriter, comma.
Well, the punctuation is very important.
Yeah.
Comma, million.
As you will see on Guy Montgomery's Guy Mont Spelling Bee, punctuation is very important, and identifying it especially is. I was maybe advocating that one of my friends watches Guy Mont Spelling Bee earlier and sent him the clip of the punctuation round, which is one of the most sadistic things ever to air on television. And I will send you the link after this, Saunders, because you will very much enjoy it. And Anamika ends the challenge by saying that they had to look better on the bike ride and listen better on the bridge. It is now time for the test. 20 questions about the identity and actions of the mole. Whoever knows least goes home except for the mole who can never go home. Rop says he's trying a new strategy. He's going for people he's not gone for before, and if he messes up, he might be out of the show. Anamika says she's still spreading. It's cliche, but it works. She wants to be quick, but thinks it's still too early to go for her top 2, who are Klaas and Tim. Klaas says Tim is high on his list, which hasn't changed, and Anamika was as well, but Tarka was all over the place today, so has joined them on his list. Tarka's crossed off a few people, but Tim's still on his list as he never brings in money and is very vague. Cecile's sticking with her 2 moles from the last 4 rounds, which is Rob and Klaas, and just to be sure, she's putting some on Tim. Tim says Cecile is in her top 3 as she never brings in money, which is the same as Marjolein. Klaas is also there as he always tries and fails, but has a good excuse. He brings in money, but always loses it again. And Marjolein has been on 3 or 4 people, but says she wants to spread over 2. She didn't get much wiser this episode, but stayed closer to her moles, and she holds on to her yoker.
Well, that'll help.
Yep.
After losing your top suspect, I would hang on to my yoker too.
A very expensive paperweight, as we will see. It's only worth slightly more than the big brass mug from Hard Quiz. Art says that they are sitting proudly. They're over halfway through the trip, which is an achievement. However, only 3 people have left, so their odds haven't improved that much. Perhaps they were just lucky, and at some point, that luck will run out. Klaas, Anamika, Cecile, and Rob all get green screens before Marjolein is sent home with a yoker in her pocket.
And once again, everyone's just really quiet, and Art says, once again, you can say goodbye now.
Is this something he always did and we've forgotten about it, or was it just this year?
I think it's just this season. I do not recall us ever catching on to it.
I feel like we would have definitely taken the piss out of this in previous years if he did it every season. I think he was just trying something new with this season. Taka thinks she went for one person too much, and that wasn't the right one person. Klaas says she kept track of everything and knew the most about everyone else, but somehow it all went wrong for her. She tells Art that one yoker wouldn't make much of a difference. She was waiting for the penultimate test to use it to be guaranteed a spot in the final 3. And she says she's had a lot of fun, but now she gone.
Yeah, I think what went wrong for her is that she just had a lower score than everybody else on the quiz and that she didn't play her yoker.
Yeah.
She should have scored higher.
What she wanted to do was just save it till the end when she had to go face to face with the mole to win the contents of the pot. And I'm making these jokes knowing full well that by the time this comes out, Netmole 2 will have aired, and if that is a real twist after what we've heard, holy shit, that is the worst thing in maybe reality TV history.
Yeah.
It's certainly up there.
Yeah.
Do you want to eulogize Marjolein? Is there any point? Do we care? Or is
Not
she
really.
just gone at this point?
She gone.
Yeah, I'm glad this is quite the episode to come back to after 6 weeks of not recording any historians. The Marjolein boot episode. She was a bit intense. She was very impatient. I still can't quite follow. I mean, she had her reasons for hanging on to the yoker, but I think given that her top suspect went home, She should have been in a more heightened sense of survival mode, because I think it was, who was she talking to, Tim or Klaus, that said, yeah, we talked to Marjolein right before the quiz, and she was certain she was safe, even though she just lost her
It's Taka, I think.
prime suspect. Yeah, Taka. Yeah, so she was an interesting, maybe not so much like super dynamic personality, it's just decisions and how she behaved in challenges was interesting to analyze, where you're trying to follow like her line of thinking.
Yeah, I think when she goes, everyone else is at least slightly more interesting to talk about if they went, which is a benefit for us. She's certainly the weakest person in this final 7 in terms of entertainment.
I don't know. I think she can bench press more than Cecile.
There's only one way to find out.
You sure Cecile's used to pumping iron?
And that leads me on to the next question, because there's a potential that someone could be pumping iron as I ask, who's fucking Saunders?
I'm gonna guess Anamika, and it's not. Maybe Anamika and Taka.
I can't wait for the payoff of this joke in the reunion, by the way.
Yeah.
We're just going to get a message going, that was it? So, next time they work as set designers and decorate identically over a wall, a cable car sees the letters exchanged, Cecile lays down the notes, and they must search for themselves in a car ride before everything breaks down. Final 3 questions. Who do you suspect Saunders? Who's going home next? And the bonus question, how many Taeno characters did the mole find?
Let's see. So Klaus is still my number 1 suspect. Then Anamika. Marjolein was my 3rd suspect, but now she gone. Then Rupp. Then Tim. Then Cecile. Then Taka.
Interesting.
And I think Taka will be eliminated next. And I think the moles team found 5 symbols.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Anyway, anything else you want to say about this episode?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Thank you for... In that case, thank you for listening to our Views to Mole 2016 recap. We'll be back next week to continue the hunt for an old mole in the Dominican Republic. Don't forget, you can contact us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, where we are TV Warriors, or you can email us on contact@rtvwarriors.com. Logan's on the artist film known as Twitter at Loxbugaki. Bindles is a Grim Recap, and I'm Jay Harmstone. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors. Thank you as always to Marika for the subtitles, and we will see you next week.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavoring.
Why was 6 scared? Because 7, 8, 9.